There we go. We're not doing sissy colors. There's a limit. There is a limit of which I would do. So I'll let you braid my hair. I'll let you bead my hair, but we're most definitely not coloring my hair orange and white. The Halloween's over. The inside of the pumpkin. No, we're not doing that. All right. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? I'm sorry you caught the last end of that conversation. My youth probably need counseling. With that being said, we're going to be in Luke chapter 22, verses 56 through 62 today. Luke chapter 22, 56 through 22. All right, and one of the things we're going to start talking about this series right here, we got a 4-week series, and we're going to talk about, what's up, Dakota? We are going to talk about, Ed, we got cinnamon rolls. You want cinnamon roll, man? That's why he's here. Before Zach got here. Because they will all be gone. So before one of the things I want to talk to y'all about today is that lesson called, or the term backstabber. What does backstabber mean to you all? So just take time to think about that real quick. And as we start to think about this backstabber, what's the meaning when someone, or if somebody calls you a backstabber, what do they call you? Why are they calling you a backstabber? What have you done to be that backstabber? All right. Literally, if we just look at the word backstabber, we break it into the two words that it is literally someone stabbing you in the back. Right? Throughout history, we can see that. Julius Caesar got stabbed in the back by one of his closest government friends. Yes, but Brutus was the one to initiate it. I'm glad y'all know history. I'm a science teacher, okay? I don't know a lot of history. All right. And in Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar uttered the word "it to brute," which means betrayal, right? Julius Caesar was betrayed by his close commander, Brutus. Brutus, along with others, savagely assassinated Caesar to take control of the Roman Empire. Brutus, in this story, was the backstabber. So when we talk about the life of Jesus, we can go through and we can see multiple backstabbers throughout Jesus's life, right? We see Zach. Oh, okay. I'll get him in a second. He's coming. I hear him. Oh, I thought Elijah was Zach. I just saw the extra feet. Sorry. Yet, I guess if the only thing similar to Zach is your feet, I guess you're doing pretty good. So. Oh, I got Ed. Oh, that was funny. All right, back. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Zach. Yay.
I didn't get that.
You didn't? No. Oh. Well, Ed's already got his too, so I think you're good to get a plateful. Kelsey's had 6. Anyway.
There's only 1, 2 left.
Sorry. I guess you should have showed up on time. Your dad's been here since 8. You chose not to come with your dad. You were late. All right.
Dude. What?
Oh, there you go. Oh, Zach only got 1. I guess we need to start making 4. All right, so because I'm live, I need to get started. So when we're talking about the life of Jesus, right, we see how Jesus had performed all these miracles, right? But even as he performed all these miracles, even as he was winning over the hearts of the people at this time, throughout the course of his death and his resurrection, there's multiple people who come to mind for the ones who have betrayed Jesus. We can all think of Judas, right? Judas sold Jesus to the Pharisees or to the leaders, right? Jesus knew the pain of having someone let you down or throw you under the bus, right? And I'm sure everyone here, when I say backstabber, you have someone in your head who has betrayed you at some point in time in your life, or who you have felt betrayed by someone in your life. So when I ask you that, think of someone. Have anyone ever denied knowing you? Has anyone ever said, "Oh, I know this person," or I know that person"? And you get to school, and they're like, "I have no idea who you are. I don't know what you're talking about." All right, maybe you're at school, and they think you're too cool. They look down, they ignore you. Right? I think we could all think of Jude at this point. Jude hangs out with his certain friends, and his friends don't want to know you. So that's Jude. I wish Jude was here because I like to pick on Jude. Oh no, I was picking on Elijah.
Yeah.
I said Elijah's feet look like your feet.
Well, then they look good. My feet look good. No, it was good.
And then it almost needed CPR. So, all right. So, but maybe someone said that they would be loyal to you or they were going to help you out. That all of a sudden they didn't show up. They didn't have your back. They left you out to dry. Or maybe someone said that they were going to keep a secret. Maybe they said, "Hey, I really need to trust you with this. Don't tell anyone." And then next thing you know, that secret spread throughout the school. All right. I want you to think about. I want you to take a few minutes or a few seconds, really, and just think about what would you be feeling if one of these scenarios happened? What would you be feeling if you got betrayed? Right. And maybe anger at first, maybe sadness, maybe you try to just kind of blow it off like it doesn't matter. You put this outward appearance like, "Hey, I'm okay. It doesn't bother me." But deep down, you're torn to pieces on the inside. You feel this reason not to live because your closest friends or the people that you thought you could trust just literally threw you under the bus and then backed the bus back up, stabbed you in the back, per se. So now I want you to think about what possible motives would you try to do? Would you try to stab that person back in the back? I think that's the easiest one to say. I'm going to get you back. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? You do something wrong to me, I promise I'm going to turn around and do something wrong to you. Maybe you just want to leave and start life all over again. I just, try to erase your history, erase your past because you're scared. You're scared something's going to happen. Maybe trying to help themselves get to a better point. Like, maybe the reason they were doing this is because they wanted that popularity. So therefore, they're going to get as much information as they can, and they're going to turn around and they're going to try to say, "Well, actually this." And they're going to try to grow up that popularity chain. And, as we think about all that, instead of looking at Judas today, I want to actually look at Peter. Right? Who was Peter? Peter was Jesus's most loyal guy, right? He was astonished that Jesus would predict, like when Peter was told by Jesus, "Hey, you're going to deny me 3 times." Judas was probably kind of hurt because, at no point did Peter think Peter was the most. Look, Peter was the one who was in the inner circle, right? You have the 12, and then he was in that inner circle with Jesus, one of Jesus's closest, most loyal friend. And when Jesus told him that, how do you think Peter felt? No, that's not true. No, after everything that we've been together, after all that we've done together, no, that's not going to happen. And, Peter had been there through the miracles. Peter had been through where the crowd was the biggest. Peter had been there when the crowd started to, kind of disappear and decimate. He sees them, and as we think about it, why do you think Peter ended up denying Jesus? Why do you think? Explain. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. All right, so both of y'all, go ahead. Okay, I can see where all three of those would be correct. I can see where at this point right here, it was a, let me just go ahead and give you the answer, right? Because all three of y'all are right. So at this time, it was Peter saw Jesus as the Messiah. And when you're called the Messiah at this time, the Messiah is the strongest. Ain't nothing going to take the Messiah down. And think about the scenarios that had just happened in Peter's life. Peter had been with him through the thick and thin. Peter saw him save people. Peter saw him rub mud into a person's eyes, and the person was able to see. Peter saw all the miracles. So the Messiah, who was one of the strongest people in the world, who was winning over the hearts and mind without fighting, got arrested. All right. So Peter had this fear of the Messiah who's now getting arrested. The guy who I thought was the big one didn't even put up a fight about getting arrested. Peter pulled out his sword and cut the ear off of the soldier. And Jesus said, stop. The Messiah was supposed to be this strong figure that was pushed around by the religious leaders and the Romans. So fear started to creep into Peter's heart as he began to flee. And because Peter didn't want to be crucified, and that's where we're going to start picking up these verses. When Peter started to get crucified, or when Jesus was getting ready to be crucified, Peter didn't want to be crucified. Who is willing to die, right? Ain't no one in here would be okay to say, yeah, I'll die for this, I'll die for that. It's really hard. And even for this time, there's these shootings in schools, the community college in Oregon, where the student walked in, asked if you were saved, and he shot the people who said, I believe in Jesus. It's really hard for me to put myself in that scenario and say I would do this or I wouldn't do this. I would like to think now, yeah, I'd be willing to put my life on the line for Jesus. I'd be willing to go the extra mile. I'd be willing to study. But when you're faced with this scenario, even the most loyal to Jesus was terrified. So, all right, so as we read, we're going to be in Luke 22, and we're going to start off in verse 56. And verse 56 says, when a servant saw him sitting in the light and looked closely at him, she said, this man was with him too. But he, talking about Peter, but he denied it. Woman, I don't know him. And then after a little while, someone else saw it and said, you were with him. You were with him too. And once again, Peter replied, man, I am not. And then about an hour later had passed, and another kept insisting, this man was certainly with him, since he's also a Galilean. And Peter said, man, I do not know what you are talking about. And immediately the rooster crowed while he was speaking, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. The Lord turned and looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord. And he said to him, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Think about that. Jesus told you something was going to happen. Jesus is being tried right here in the middle of all the Pharisees. Jesus knows when you're getting ready to do something that's going to upset him. Jesus knows when you're getting ready to do something that's going to really affect him. Peter does it. And Peter makes eye contact with Jesus. Like, Peter turned and looked at Jesus, and Jesus is staring at Peter. How would you feel knowing that you broke one of your friend's secrets, or you went to school and you told a secret that one of your friends had entrusted to you, and as soon as you said it, you turned around and your friend was right here looking at your face? Now think about the person who just died on the cross for you and the things that you've done And how would you respond? Fear is probably one of the most powerful emotions that a person, because fear will drive you to do anything. If you're scared to go do it, you don't want to face those consequences. If you try to overcome fear, you know that it's going to be hard and it's going to be an upward battle. All right. And fear, that powerful emotion, caused the most courageous, the most loyal, the most powerful to and abandoning. But let's look on the bright side. And there's a movie. It's called The Breakfast Club. I don't know if y'all have ever seen The Breakfast Club. It's a 1985 where a bunch of students got thrown in detention, right? Zach, you know what detention is? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I understand, Lacey. So, anyway. So I'm glad you two could really explain it to me. But no, so as we think about all these students were thrown into detention or thrown into ISS on a Saturday. I grew up with Saturday detention, right? And if never on Saturday. I did have my 15, 30 minutes in the principal's office after school, but almost every day. But usually I was late to class. We'll talk about this once I'm done. So, but on this Saturday, over the course of the Saturday, they were sitting in the library, and as the teacher would walk out, they would start to talk, and it was, there was the jock, the athletic person. There was the rebel, the one who just kind of rebelled out against everybody. There was the prom queen, right? The most popular girl in the school. There was the nerd, the smartest kid in the school, and then there was the weird kid, right, Zach? So what?
You literally called me a weird kid.
I don't.
Like Bo sitting over there, you haven't made fun of Bo once.
I don't recall ever saying your name, Zach. Okay. Anyway, so
It's on video right now.
So as we go through this, and as we sit here, and as you think about it, right? If you're put in a room with a bunch of people that you never really talk to, chances are you're going to start talking to them or go insane. So in this story or in this movie, that's exactly what happens. All these people come together and they start talking, and they become good friends in Saturday detention, right? And at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, approximately, the nerd looks at him and says, "So, is this what Monday is going to be like? Is Monday? Are we all going to be friends still?" And the prom queen goes, "Honestly, no. When we see each other, we're not going to ever hang out again. The more popular students will be back with the most popular group. The nerds will go back to hanging out with the nerds, and, it's really sad to think about it. That's how life works. But in the Bible, that's not how it ended. Peter became one of the greatest leaders of the church, of this movement. And Peter's story doesn't end with him publicly denying Jesus. In John chapter 21, verses 15 through 19, it says, when they had eaten breakfast with Jesus, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And, "Yes, Lord," I said to him, or he said to him, Peter said to him, "You know that I love you." And then Jesus told him, "Feed my lambs." And a second time Jesus asked, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter responded, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And then Jesus told him, "Shepherd my sheep." And then he asked a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter was grieved at this point that he asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "No, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And then Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Truly, I tell you that you were younger, you would tie your belt and you would walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will tie you and carry you where you don't want to go." And he said this indicated by the kind of death Peter would glorify God. And after saying this, he told him, "Follow me." God gave Peter another chance. God's given us all other chances. And I know as of right now, we're probably to a point to where it's like, somebody who's betrayed you and you've been holding this grudge for so long. Are you ready to give them another chance? Peter probably, outside of Judas, is the most common betrayer of this time. Peter said, "I would not deny you." And when the crow crowed that morning, Jesus made eye contact with Peter, and Peter knew that he had lied. Peter knew that he denied God, but then Peter became one of the biggest influential leaders of the movement, of the new church movement. And Jesus didn't condemn Peter for his moment of denial and struggle. He showed him love and reconciliation. So for those who have let Jesus down, he still shows open arms to forgive us, and he's still ready to restore us for a better hope. So I encourage y'all, as y'all think about who is denying you, who has stabbed you in the back, show them love. It's not going to change anything. What is done, but how you respond to the situation can change the people's lives. All right. So as we close here today, that's my challenge to y'all this week, is to forgive somebody who has betrayed you. Let us pray. Lord, I just want to thank you for giving us a place to come and grow in our knowledge of you, Lord. And I know that we all tend to hold grudges against people. I know that we tend to not let people in after they've hurt us, Lord. And I thank you for the example that you've given us about Peter, that, even though he denied you 3 times to 3 different people, you still forgave him. And I pray that you give us the strength to forgive people. And I pray that you forgive us of our times of weakness. And I pray that as we go through our day this week, that we remember this story. We think about this story, and we understand that you still love us. And I pray that we can still love other people. Lord, we love you. We thank you with all our hearts. In your heavenly name I pray. Amen.